Alright, so hello everyone. Again, we're going to go unedited here. As you can see, got the photos up. These are a couple photos. That one's of Europe. This is one from South America, and that one's also another one from South America. So eventually I'll be able to tell the stories about those photos in particular. For me, those were just photos I got to put on my wall, and now I get to look at them every day, and I really like them. So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about what Edinburgh was like, but before I get to Edinburgh, I'm going to talk to you guys about what it was like getting to Edinburgh, because we used the infamous Ryanair to get there, and we realized really early on that it was kind of a big pain in the butt, like everyone said. So obviously London's a huge city like we've talked about, but there's two airports, kind of like Vancouver. You have the Abbotsford Airport and the Richmond Airport. So you're like, Abbotsford Airport? What is that? That's kind of where we stood. I think the airport was called the Heathstead Airport. It was about an hour and a half out of the city, the opposite direction of the Heathrow. We ended up having to get up at 4:30 in the morning, get in a cab. Got in one of those London cabs, though, where you all sit facing each other in the back, which was pretty cool for 4:30 in the morning. Can check that one off the bucket list. And we headed towards the bus station. From the bus station, we waited there for about 15-20 minutes. I think the bus was late, and that was stressing some people out for sure. So we got on that bus, and then we basically took this Greyhound-style bus out of the city all the way to the other side of the city into the airport. And I think that bus ride was pretty impactful for me, because I realized as we were going for an hour and a half out of London, as far as the eye could see on every highway, it was just small 4 or 5 story apartment buildings, one after another, after another, after another, after another. And after about like 10, 15, 20 minutes of looking out the window, cruising on the highway and seeing this, I started to realize how lucky I was to be living in Vancouver, in a place where you can drive on the highway and there's trees on either side, or maybe you don't see any buildings, or maybe there's just some large industrial buildings. In these buildings that we saw for about a good hour and a half, there was people living, like I said, as far as I could see one way and as far as I could see the other way. Off the highway, there were these 4-story, 5-story apartment buildings with people living on them. And it was just like, this is where people grew up. This is where people had jobs. This is where people did life. They lived, and didn't seem like there was much out here. I don't know if that's kind of judgmental or whatever. For myself, I really kind of just got a wake-up call at that point. This is only like 4 days into my trip or whatever, and I was like, holy crap. This is what living in London or England would be like, to a certain degree, obviously. So we got to the airport after I had been thinking about that, and we had to show up pretty early. There was huge lineups at the Ryanair, but other than the fact that you had to show up early and you had to print your boarding passes beforehand, and you just had to get on that plane and be in that waiting zone for an extended period of time before the flight took off. Ryanair actually wasn't that bad. Obviously, it was like there was nothing on the plane. It was super like bland, and they tried to sell you stuff the whole way there. But at the end of the day, it wasn't too bad. We ended up getting into Edinburgh, and I forget how we ended up getting from Edinburgh's airport to, I think we took a bus. Yeah, we took a bus from Edinburgh's airport into the city of Edinburgh, and that bus was fantastic, super clean, double-decker on the top. We actually ended up being able to sit all facing each other with a nice little table. We played some cards, and it was like, where are these buses in Canada? Double-deckered on the top floor. There's certain sections where there's like 4-seated tables, and you can travel for hours and hours and hours on these things with, I think, Wi-Fi, electricity, and the ability to socialize with a group of people. And I was like, this is brilliant. Obviously, the bus ride was only about an hour long, and we showed up into Edinburgh, and pretty much immediately after I stepped off the bus, I realized that this city was totally more of what I wanted. Like what my journal is saying, it says it's just a smaller city. It's a lot more welcoming streets, and I just immediately connected with with Edinburgh and Scotland was just fantastic. So we ended up walking all the way up the hill, because the bus drops us off at the bottom of the hill, and get to our hostel, drop off our stuff, and we went for a little walk along the Royal Mile. Royal Mile for a reason, obviously. Back way in the day, the royals would walk the mile down to the church or down to the sea in the parade style. And that street was just very small street, cobblestone, historic buildings, and it was just very, very beautiful to just be in that very welcoming, slower pace of life versus being in London. And so we just kind of settled ourselves in the first day, and the second day we decided that we were going to go to a small village called Tattleen, which is about a 30 to 40 minute train ride out of Edinburgh, and then it was about a 25-30 minute walk to the castle. So we thought. So we got down to the train station, and we missed the first train by literally about 2 minutes, and that's when we realized the European trains, when they say they leave at like 11:02, they leave at 11:02, not 11:01, not 11, not 11:03, like on the dot when the ticking thing hits 11:02, boom, it's gone. So it left, and we were like, hey, this kind of sucks. So we had to stick around for a while, and the sun was shining, and it wasn't that bad of a day, and we were dressed in our casual walking attire to go see this castle that was a 25-minute walk away from Tattleen. And on the coast, on the English Channel side, looking over towards mainland Europe. And we get off the train after we've gotten on this train, and as we're coming into this city of North Berwick, which is where we have to walk to get to Tattleen, it starts to pour rain, like torrential downpour, Vancouver rain, West Coast rain, whatever you want to call it. And I was in flip-flops, shorts, and a light jacket. And no one else was really prepared for this kind of rain. The weather literally just, boom, changed. Blue skies, 30 minutes train ride later, pouring rain. And so we started walking around in the pouring rain, not too happy, and eventually 5-10 minutes into this walk on my flip-flops, I realized there's no point to be wearing flip-flops. I might as well be wearing bare feet because it's basically like I'm in a shower. So I took my flip-flops off, and so here I am walking around North Berwick, barefooted, in the pouring rain. I felt quite the hobbit, in these rolling hills with these tiny, not tiny, but nice little houses. And so we start walking, and the rain keeps coming, and all the people are driving by us, kind of looking at us in the windows, like, what the hell are these guys doing? Like, they're clearly lost, but no one was helping us. So we kept walking, and we hit this sign. We see we go, this is kind of the right direction towards this castle, so we look back, and it's like, now entering the city of North Berwick. So we're like, that's the wrong way. We do not want to be leaving the city. We heard it was like within the city, not very far out of the city, and all we could see as we continued on this road, if we would have continued, was flat farmland. And we're like, that's not the way we should be going right now. We are completely lost. We don't know where we're going, and we have no idea how long it's going to get there if we even go in the right direction. So we ended up walking back, and I think at that point, once everyone had realized that they were going to be soaking wet and, we weren't going to find the castle, I think all the spirits started to change in our group, and everything ended up actually turning out pretty well. We started walking down towards the sea and back into town, and just as we stumbled upon the sea line and the ocean front, the sun just miraculously broke through the clouds, just started to shine bright, and it was like, wow, this is fantastic. We can get down to the beach, and the sun is fully out. We grabbed a couple bottles of wine that we had brought along, and kind of just enjoyed the scenery, I would say. Took some photos, and just got chatting, and walked along the beach sipping on some wine, and it was just beautiful scenery. You'll see in the photos down below that it was just like any other ocean view in that you would see, I guess. And then from there, continued down towards this tiny town of North Berwick that we discovered was very small. And we're like, well, we might as well go for a drink. So we went for a drink, and Mitch talked up with the bartender about what the good beers were, what the bad beers were, and we just kind of continued our light buzz from our beach excursion. And then we just grabbed some local beer from Scottish brewery and headed on back towards the train station and went home. So that was kind of like the plan, was to go see this castle on the edge of the ocean on a cliffside, and it was supposed to be like super majestic, and that plan completely fell apart and that never happened. But at the end of the day, we did end up having a really great day, and it was quite a special moment. I would say we realized that we were able to create some fun and entertain ourselves just with ourselves. We didn't actually need anyone else. We didn't need any specific activity, and we really started to, I think, get along together as a group. I really thought that was special. It's something I won't ever forget. I wrote here in my journal, on the last line, I think of or the last couple lines of what I talked about in Edinburgh was, as you can see, the days on the road are long, action-packed, and always call for a great story. I'm so grateful I got to experience this incredible world with some awesome people. It truly is something I will cherish it for a lifetime. So I think that pretty much sums it up, what Edinburgh was like. I started to really get into the swing of what traveling was like, and I really just started to embrace all of the challenges and flaws and bumps and bruises along the way, and we're really just there to make the most of our time in these amazing cities that we won't be able to see for quite some time into the future. So that was Edinburgh, and I really loved it, and it was a perfect little city. So I guess that's my story of Edinburgh, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. See below for the photos, and I'm actually going to be switching over blogs here, so this is going to be a little bit of a transition here, but we're going to be going to astraightmitchellstanky.com and get this blog fully taking off. So I hope you guys enjoy this travel story, and we will talk to you guys soon. Bye-bye.